What if the thing you consider your greatest knowledge is actually what limits you the most? Often, the real obstacle to wisdom is not the lack of answers, but the illusion that we already know everything. This is the journey of Daniel, a man who crossed mountains in search of truth, believing he would find the missing piece in his life. But what he discovered challenged everything he believed to be right. Imagine dedicating your entire life to learning, mastering skills, and accumulating knowledge. You're admired for your intelligence, respected for your insights, yet you feel empty. No matter how much you learn, no answer seems enough. No theory fills the void inside you. Until one day, you hear about Master Li, a monk whose wisdom has transformed lives, a man who spent decades in silence, yet whose words could change destinies. Desperate for clarity, you leave behind your comfortable life and travel to unknown lands to find him. Now, standing before the solid wooden gates of the monastery, you hesitate. What if you're wrong? What if there's nothing left to learn? But then, the doors creak open, and everything changes. If this story intrigues you, if you've ever felt like your mind is too full to receive new wisdom, stick around, because the lesson Daniel learns might just challenge everything you think you know. And if you're ready to explore more transformative stories like this, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. That way, you'll never miss a lesson that could change the way you see the world. Oh, and if you're enjoying this story so far, leave a like. It's a small way to show your support and help others discover this content too. Now, let's step inside the monastery and uncover the mystery of the empty cup. What if the reason we struggle to find clarity isn't because the answers are missing, but because our minds are too clouded to see them? This was the next lesson Daniel had to face. Master Li led Daniel through the temple's inner courtyard. The morning sun cast a soft glow over the stone pathways, and the distant sound of a wooden gong echoed in the air. Monks moved in silence, sweeping the ground with slow, deliberate motions. Daniel observed them for a moment, frowning. "Master, why are they sweeping if the ground is already clean?" Master Li smiled as he continued walking. "Because dust always returns." Daniel was about to ask what that meant, but the monk gestured for him to follow. They arrived at a large stone basin filled with still water. The surface was smooth, reflecting the sky and the surrounding trees. "Look into the water. What do you see?" Daniel leaned in, staring at his own reflection. "Myself." Without a word, Master Li picked up a small stone and dropped it into the water. Ripples spread outward, distorting Daniel's reflection. "And now, it's unclear." Master Li nodded, sitting beside the basin. "Your mind is like this water. When still, it reflects truth. But when disturbed by distractions, by ego, by assumptions, it cannot see clearly. Before you can receive wisdom, you must first let the ripples settle." Daniel sat in silence, watching the water slowly return to its original stillness. For years, he had believed wisdom came from gathering more information, from proving how much he knew. But in that moment, he questioned if he had ever truly understood anything at all. Master Li's voice broke the silence. "Come, Daniel. Tomorrow, you will make a choice, and that choice will reveal whether you are truly ready to learn." Daniel followed the monk back to the temple, but his thoughts remained behind, drifting like the last few ripples in the water. What if the greatest obstacle to learning isn't ignorance, but the refusal to let go of what we think we know? This was the next test Daniel had to face. At sunrise, Daniel met Master Li in the temple courtyard. The crisp morning air carried the distant chime of a temple bell, and a soft mist lingered over the stone paths. The monks moved through their daily routines, some sweeping, others meditating, their movement steady, deliberate. But today, something felt different. In the center of the courtyard stood a simple wooden table. On it lay two objects. One was a thick, heavy book, its leather cover worn from years of handling, the golden lettering on its spine slightly faded. It looked ancient, filled with knowledge passed down through generations. The other was a single, blank parchment, untouched, pure, waiting for something to be written on it. Master Li turned to Daniel, his expression unreadable. "Choose one." Daniel felt a jolt of hesitation. He had spent his entire life surrounded by books, absorbing knowledge, debating theories, searching for deeper truths. His identity was built upon the things he had learned. Books had been his greatest source of wisdom. How could an empty page possibly compare? His fingers hovered over the book, but his eyes lingered on the parchment. It was nothing, just an empty space. And yet something about its emptiness unsettled him. Was it possible that his mind, like the book, was already too full? Masterly remained silent, watching. Daniel clenched his jaw. Every part of him wanted to reach for the book. It was familiar, comfortable, safe. But something deep inside told him that this was a test, not of intelligence, but of understanding. After a long pause, he took a deep breath and reached past the book, picking up the blank parchment instead. Master Li's lips curled into a knowing smile. Why did you choose it? Daniel ran his fingers over the parchment surface. Because if my mind is already full, there is no room to learn anything new. Master Li nodded approvingly. Wisdom is not about knowing more. It is about knowing when to let go. Only an empty mind can truly absorb what matters. Daniel exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of those words settle deep within him. For years, he had believed wisdom was something to collect, something to own, something to prove. He had spent his life chasing answers, filling his mind with more knowledge, more ideas, more certainty. But now, standing in this quiet temple, he realized that true learning isn't about adding. It's about making space. Master Li handed him a brush. Now, let's see what you will write with a mind that is finally free. Daniel hesitated. For the first time in his life, he wasn't sure what to write. For the first time in his life, he was okay with that. And in that moment, without a single word written, he had already begun to understand. What if the greatest wisdom is not found in answers, but in learning to let go of the need for them? This was the final lesson Daniel had to face. Master Li led Daniel to a quiet garden within the temple. The soft light of dawn painted golden streaks through the leaves, and a gentle breeze rustled the trees. A stone bench sat beside a koi pond, the water smooth as glass, reflecting the stillness of the morning. The monk motioned for Daniel to sit. For years, you have searched for knowledge, Master Li said. But now, I ask you, what have you truly learned? Daniel looked down at the blank parchment in his hands, the same one he had chosen instead of the book. It was still empty. Slowly, he dipped the brush into the ink, the tip hovering over the page. His mind, for the first time, did not race to find the perfect words. Instead, he paused. Then, after a long silence, he finally wrote one simple word. Nothing. Master Li watched, his expression unreadable. And what does that mean to you? Daniel stared at the ink drying on the parchment, then let out a slow breath. That I don't need to have all the answers. That wisdom isn't about filling my mind. It's about making space for what truly matters. The monk nodded, his gaze steady. Then, my student, you have finally begun to understand. Daniel sat in silence, absorbing the weight of those words. For years, he had believed wisdom was something to possess, something to prove. He had spent his life chasing answers, collecting knowledge, always looking for more. But now he realized something profound. True learning is not about adding, but about letting go. Master Li stood, his hands clasped behind his back, his voice calm yet firm. True wisdom does not come from seeking more. It comes from learning to be at peace with what is. You were never lacking anything. You simply needed to see clearly. Daniel looked up at the monk. The silence between them stretched, but for the first time, it didn't feel uncomfortable. He had spent his entire life filling every quiet moment with thoughts, with questions, with theories. But now, for the first time, he welcomed the silence. And in that silence, he understood why stillness holds more wisdom than words ever could. A leaf drifted down from a tree, landing softly on the surface of the pond. Ripples spread outward, then faded, until the water was still again. Daniel smiled. He finally understood. What if the greatest wisdom is not found in answers, but in learning to let go of the need for them? This was the final lesson Daniel had to face. The sun rose gently over the mountains, casting golden light across the temple garden. Daniel sat quietly on a stone bench beside the koi pond, the blank parchment resting in his hands. It was still empty, Yet it felt heavier now, filled not with words, but with understanding. Masterly approached him, his presence calm and grounding. "You came here searching for wisdom," the monk said softly. "But now I ask you, what have you truly learned?" Daniel looked down at the parchment, then out at the pond. The water was still, reflecting the sky like a mirror. For years, he had chased knowledge, believing it would bring him clarity. But now, he realized that true wisdom wasn't about filling his mind. It was about creating space. He dipped the brush into the ink one last time and wrote a single word. "Nothing." Masterly smiled faintly, his eyes twinkling with approval. "And what does that mean to you?" Daniel paused, letting the weight of the moment settle. "It means I don't need to have all the answers. Wisdom isn't about knowing more. It's about being open to what is. It's about making space for stillness, for peace, for life itself." The monk nodded slowly. "Then, my student, you have finally begun to understand." For the first time in his life, Daniel felt a deep sense of calm. He had spent years filling every quiet moment with thoughts, questions, and theories. But now, sitting in the silence of the garden, he realized that stillness held more wisdom than any book or answer ever could. A leaf drifted down from a tree, landing softly on the surface of the pond. Ripples spread outward, then faded, until the water was still again. Daniel smiled. He finally understood. How often do we believe we need more knowledge, more success, more control, when in reality, we just need to let go? Maybe, like Daniel, it's not about finding the right answers, but about making peace with not needing them. If this story made you reflect, leave a like. It's a small gesture, but it helps this message reach others who might need it today. And if you're ready to explore more stories like this, ones that challenge your perspective and help you grow, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. That way, you'll never miss a lesson that could change the way you see the world. Thank you for joining me on this journey today. Until next time, stay present, stay curious, and remember, the answers you seek may already be closer than you think.